We're going to go to the first question, and that is from Nick B. Nick, where are you? Give us a wave there. He is. We'll just get the microphone to you, Nick. Thank you so much. So if you read that out for all of us, that would be fantastic.
So West Yorkshire is famously overlooked for public transport spending, and I believe that holds back the region economically. It restricts agglomeration effects that cities like London and Manchester get. The population here is spread out, it's large, but the geography is challenging. How do we get a bigger population and bigger densities to encourage that spending from central government?
Thank you so much for that question, Nick. And firstly, thank you all for coming tonight. I am honestly really humbled there are so many people here. And it's my privilege to be held to account by you. I want to be the most transparent and approachable mayor in the country. So this is part of my plan, just to make sure that I'm here to listen to you and your questions. But that question is so fundamental to my job. Representing your needs and your family's needs. We cannot grow the economy of West Yorkshire unless we have better transport. It's a no-brainer. We have to ensure that communities can get to college, can get to skills, can get to jobs, and we are failing in that regard. Now, your point about Greater Manchester, it's very like London in that people from the outskirts go into the centre, into Manchester from Greater Manchester. In West Yorkshire, we're polycentric, so we have our 5 different regions, different identities, different strengths, and our job is to connect all of those regions for absolutely that agglomeration effect. What I want is an integrated, and this is what we're working on, an integrated transport plan where you have a tap in, tap out, a capped card that you can use on the bus that we're bringing back into public control, on the tram that we are committed to getting spades in the ground by 2028, and then on rail, like the overground in London, those rail, the bits of the rail that really work for our region, for example, Ilkley to Leeds, or the 5 towns, that's almost self-contained. Why isn't that in a transport ticket? And also electric bikes as well as part of that offer. It's a long haul, because we've been left behind for decades when it comes to investment. But you've seen the east to west being a total disaster. The mayors coming together to say you've got to bring TransPennine into public control. That happened. We now see a better service. But the TransPennine upgrade, on time, on budget. 5,000 engineers delivering that connectivity between Manchester and Leeds. But also, it's not just east to west. We need a through station in Bradford. Our tram will connect Leeds and Bradford area together the size of Estonia, that is currently disconnected or connected by one road that is bumper-to-bumper traffic. It is about making sure that and we've seen improvements with TransPennine, that now there are trains that come through down to the 5 towns, where you can get to Huddersfield and then on to Manchester. That is a good development. There is so much more we can do. But transport is the key to growth. And Leeds is the only city of its size in Europe without a tram. It is not right that other European cities, from the outskirts of the city, you can get to the city centre in 30 minutes. It's 45, 50 minutes for us. All of that productivity lost. We are on a mission with our growth plan to grow the economy, and transport is part of that. I'll keep it brief because Lotty really gave me the hard word out back in the dressing room, saying 5 minutes only, Trace, on every answer, so we can get through all the questions. So obviously we will talk more about transport, I'm sure.
So Mayor, having said that, I'll put you on the spot with
Sure.
a very brief answer. Nick and all the other people, the commuters, people trying to get from A to B, when are they going to see big changes?
Yeah, well, we're bringing back buses back into public control. The first tranche is 27. Feels ages away. It's such a long process. But 27, and then the whole of the network by 28. You know better than anybody in West Yorkshire how it's not working. With Arriva really being not fit for purpose. So by 28, the whole of West Yorkshire will have a bus network, and then we will be underway spades in the ground on the tram by 28, and then I would hope that in the subsequent 2 to 3 years, then we've got the tram Bradford to Leeds. But of course, there's loads of consultations, there's environment plans to be done, there's design, there's procurement, all of those things. But it's a really exciting time to be in West Yorkshire because this is going to be an absolute game changer for our region.
Well, we'll go on to the next question, stay with transport, and forgive my pronunciation if this isn't quite right. You set me right in a bit when you get the microphone. Senali Soir, are you here? Please raise your hand. Please raise your hand there, please, and tell me if I've got that right.
Saneli Siwe.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, Sanel. Wakefield district are struggling with unreliable and infrequent bus services, making it difficult to get to work or even access job opportunities. What specific steps are you taking to improve bus reliability and to ensure people can depend on public transport for their livelihoods?
Thank you. Now, in West Yorkshire, 70% of the population who use public transport use the bus. Buses are a lifeline for so many communities, and the fact that the way it's been set up, because it's owned by private companies, often companies that aren't even headquarters in this country, it's run for profit. So where there's a route that doesn't seem massively profitable for the bus company, they've been pulling it. So the 121, is that right, Tim?
212.
The 212, perfect example. They pulled that route because it wasn't profitable, but I know, and you tell me, that it's really important for connectivity to get to jobs, hospitals, doctors, schools. So we went out to procure for another company in Yorkshire. Buses have taken it. But this is ridiculous. You know, piecemeal, 85% of the bus company is run by private companies, but we are picking up the further 15% that they won't run because they don't make any money. It's just utterly wrong. Where young people are choosing not their first choice of college or their second, their third choice of college, because actually they can get to that one and they won't need an Uber every day. And it's not just even about, you know, where the bus goes, it's the lack of reliability. And I've written to the Transport Commissioner. I'm working with councillors, your councillor Matthew Morley here has been a passionate advocate for buses. And every time I see Denise, we're talking about Arriva. It's just not being good enough. We're trying to work in partnership with them to just make them deliver on their promises about more buses, more drivers. When they said part of the problem is we don't have drivers, we funded a bus driver training program. 150 drivers came through that program. But people don't want to work for Arriva because they don't pay the same, or you know, it's not the company they want to work for. So we have a job to do. But I really want you to be reassured that I have heard, you know, really clearly from your councillors and from yourselves that Wakefield and District badly needs a good bus service because you're not as connected by train as other places in West Yorkshire. So, you know, keep pressing me, and we'll continue to do the work. The problem is when there's a route, but there's a couple of slots pulled out. So if it was every half hour, they then make it every hour. I can't find a bus company that will then bring in that half-hour service. So unfortunately, you're left with every hour rather than every half hour. But when they pull the whole route, then at least we can go out to tender and get people to bid in for it. But honestly, I feel your pain. That's why I took the decision when I first became your mayor. We have got to get buses back into public control. And I'll let you into a secret. We're very soon going to launch the name of our network. So, I mean, my colleague Felix is saying, please don't say it, don't say it.
Come on, we want an exclusive.
I just no, I
But
can't tell you.
Are there sort of consequences for our train, transport, bus companies when they're not delivering?
Yes.
You know, they're getting away with it for too long, so what's the consequences? And
Exactly
the people
this.
here are the ones who pay the price.
Exactly this. And you would hope, wouldn't you, that we could fine the companies, that we could insist that they deliver. But you can't when it's run for profit, when it's a private, because they're private companies. All we can do is write to the Traffic Commissioner, and they've written and insisted that Arriva do better. But we are now having conversations with other bus companies that are looking to take on routes and so on. So obviously, delivery and efficiency is going to be very important in our priorities.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll see some improvement. As I said, we've got more than 80 questions and a lot more about transport. So we've got another one about transport. This is to do with rail links, and this is from Graham M. I've got Graham, where are you? Up here, towards the back. Just wait for a microphone if you would, please. Thank you very much. Over to you, Graham, to ask your question. Thank you.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to your team for allowing me to sneak into this meeting, because we're from South Yorkshire.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
My question is regarding connectivity between West Yorkshire and South Yorkshire. I actually represent a rail user group in the town of Askham, which is right on the border between South Yorkshire and West Yorkshire. There is absolutely no connectivity between the two areas. No buses, no rail link, nothing. So the end of the world ends at Nottingham. Nobody can get from Pontefract, Nottingham, Castleford, etc. to Doncaster without going back to Leeds and then catching a train from Leeds into Doncaster. It's ridiculous. In this day and age, there is a perfectly good rail link between that area and South Yorkshire. We've been campaigning now for a station to be reintroduced in Askham for nearly 40 years now, but the latest campaign has been really successful and readily accepted. The land has been purchased for the station to go back. What we're asking for is, what are you doing from West Yorkshire in getting your heads together with South Yorkshire? Why should there be this cross-border problem? It's all one. We need that rail link. We've a lot of population in the Askham and surrounding area who work in West Yorkshire. Right, and they all climb into the car in the morning.
Thank you. Honestly, I'm so grateful you asked that question. Thank you. Because, excuse me, because only this week, was it this week, last week, we signed the White Rose Agreement with your Mayor in South Yorkshire, Oliver Coppard, and the Mayor of York and North Yorkshire, David Scaife. And the first job in hand is to get rid of those borders, because people don't care less about borders, they just want to get where they want to go. So we are working with Lord David Blunkett to develop at speed a plan to give to government for their consideration on the infrastructure bill, to say we are prepared to work cross-border because we know that agglomeration of Yorkshire, and there'll soon be Mayor of East Riding and Hull, and in May we will have 4 mayors for the whole of Yorkshire, and our plan with the White Rose Agreement is to work cross-border on particular challenges like transport, because it is utterly absurd that you have to come back into Leeds to get back out to Doncaster. It's crazy, and there might be people who want to just jump on a bus to get to Doncaster, to get the train to London or wherever. We have to make that connectivity easier. So we are looking at how we can get funding and commitment from government for electrification Leeds to Sheffield, and then York to Leeds, and then on to Scarborough. There's the potential for the Gould line. There's loads of things that we can work on with government. And the way that government are looking at devolution, they are now saying that mayors are going to be in lockstep with Great British Rail. So we're going to be, for and about time, in the room where Great British Rail are making decisions, and with our local knowledge, we will be able to guide those decisions. Because for far too long, there's been too much finger pointing about whose responsibility it is. Oh, track and train aren't together. It is really clear that Great British Rail is needed, but mayors are going to be in that room speaking clearly about what we want, because quite frankly, the hundreds of millions of pounds that have been invested in the investment zone in Leeds, Bradford and Huddersfield, and the investment zone in the advanced manufacturing in South Yorkshire, and we're connected by one fast train an hour. I mean, it's absurd. We're 27 miles apart. And if you compare Edinburgh and Glasgow, which is the similar distance apart, 3 times as many more passengers every day between those, excuse me, those 27 miles and our 27 miles. And we're not going to stand for it.
Mayor, there will be, as well as Graham's campaign, for a long time there, for that to reopen, there'll be other stations who want to reopen. How are you going to decide which ones will get the green light?
The challenge with new stations is you've got to have the footfall. So if you want a new station, you've also got to agree to the housing. So you do need that economic business case, that there will be the footfall if we build a station. So we've got a whole raft of stations that we are building because there is that need and that connectivity. So, it sounds like your business case is stacking up and the numbers are there. Right. Well, it's something that we can maybe discuss with Oliver, if that's helpful.
Yeah. Thank you, Graham. Thank you so much. So we've got one more about transport. This is from Sarah C. Sarah, where are you? Thank you so much. About the prices of trains.
Thank you. Can you influence train prices to enable train travel to be an affordable way to travel from West Yorkshire and get people out of cars? For example, travelling from Wakefield Westgate to York, return for a family of 4 on a Saturday could be up to £100.
Blimey. That's ridiculous, isn't it? And that stops you travelling. Yeah. It stops you going to the museums and, the heritage of York. It's just mad. And currently, I have no power over train prices, but I do think there is greater opportunity when we get our integrated transport plan to have offers, to have ticket pricing that is capped. As I say, we brought in the Mayor's Fair in September 2022. Even before government, they rang us, asked us how do you do it? And being able to sustain that to some degree, and also not raise the day ticket to the £3 that is the national pricing, but keep it at £2.50, because I know it had a really big impact. I really wish on trains I could make a difference. The government have said, excuse me, the government have said that it would have gone up higher under the previous government. That was the intention, was to put it up higher than it has gone up recently. So they've tried to keep it as low as possible, but you're absolutely right. It's just crazy. The prices are crazy. We have to make the journeys faster and the tickets more affordable.
And even booking ahead sometimes now, you still aren't really getting much more for your money, are you? It still can be expensive.
Certain routes you do.
And they're family tickets, for tickets of 4.
But I'm thinking of people that never get on the train and are always in the car and may think, today we'll go on the train, there's a bit, and they'll look at the price and they'll go, no chance.
That's
And
ridiculous.
that's
We need to
£100.
change habits.
Yeah, so that is that's a good point, Sarah, because just to touch on that, we're all being told to get out of our cars, aren't we, for pollution and the environment and use transport, but then the transport is just not up to scratch. So how can you say to people, don't use your cars, think about climate change, when the buses and the trains are too expensive or they're not turning up?
But that's the thing about mass transit, we're going to be running that ourselves. So we're going to make that affordable, easy to use and reliable and, able people to use it as a default, not forcing anybody out their car, but because they really want to, because it's reliable.
And we've just got another minute on transport. If anyone has any issues they want to bring up, this gentleman over here, we'll just wait for the microphone, sir.
I'm dying a death here, sorry everyone.
Get some water.
My name's Kevin Swift, and
Hello, Kevin.
the person who just said how much it was going to cost her and her family from Westgate to York, to be honest, should have gone down the road to Kergate, where the recently massively enhanced service to York is an awful lot cheaper, but, immediately the lady had spoken, the person in front of me turned round and said, but you go to Kirkgate, it's dangerous, there isn't even a toilet at Kirkgate. So what we've got is, at Wakefield Kirkgate, Wakefield's other station, we've got an immense success story. The number of trains that run from there, up, passengers up, the variety of destinations up, but the actual facilities are terrible, and an awful lot of women in particular will not go anywhere near Kirkgate station at night because they find it dangerous. It has no staffing, it has long subways, so great trains, lousy facilities.
Yeah, thank you for raising that, because I have been speaking to Denise, and we're cooking up a plan about how to make the wayfaring more attractive, particularly, and Northern are very keen to work with us on this. We should have a banner, Home of the Hepworth. You know, it's something we should be incredibly proud of. I like Kirkgate Station myself. I think it's, I feel it's an attractive station, and it has that lovely cafe. But I see your point about toilets, and it had a cafe when I was last there. Oh, it does now. Okay, but my point is that we should definitely do more about the safety aspect if people feel unsafe, because safety of women and girls is one of my big priorities. So thank you for raising that. But we could definitely do more on how you access it from the town.
But that's something you're working on.
Yeah, we've
council.
spoken about it before.
Lovely, thank you. So we're going to move on to a different subject now. This is from Terry, but it's asked if I'll read it. Now, this is about you pledging affordable housing. I believe pledging to build 5,000 new affordable homes. Important for everyone to have a home, but what can be done about the many homeless on the streets and to cut through red tape and help people? Terry says he works for a particular organisation who've been fighting to supply accommodation for working people who just find themselves trapped in this red tape and they just can't get anywhere to live.
Yeah, well, you must all feel like I do, that it shames us all, doesn't it, when you see people on the streets with nowhere to live. The numbers also, unfortunately, are going in the wrong direction. I've two girls who in rental accommodation, and the rents are absolutely sky high. The majority of their salary is going on rents. One disaster in your life and you find yourself homeless. So my commitment to building 5,000 affordable homes, it's really important to me. I grew up in social housing. I know that roof over our heads made a massive difference to my success, and I want every family to have that. One thing that really did illuminate the work that we are doing is in Linthwaite. You might know is a really nice village near Huddersfield. And we're building affordable housing there. And I met a family, a family who had been made homeless. She was pregnant, 2 little kids, made homeless by the landlord, who was worried about the no-fault eviction policy coming in, so he just ended their tenancy. And they now have the keys to a really lovely family house that they will stay there forever, because it can grow with them. And the kids can put down roots and they can make friends. It just, gosh, it's a Theresa May moment, isn't it? Oh my God. It just proves that our investment is making a difference. But you do see an awful lot of single men as well, and how have they fallen through the net. And so many are struggling with addiction issues, and too many members of ex-forces as well find that they've found themselves homeless. So working with local authorities, it's not in my remit, homelessness, but working with local authorities and supporting the work they do is really important. And there's a great charity called Together Housing, where normally, if you're looking for housing, you have to be dry, you have to not be have addiction problems and so on. So you have to go through all that process before you will get a home. And Together Housing just takes you as you are and provides that wraparound service for you to help you get back on your feet. I mean, we did it during COVID, didn't we? there were people who were taken into hotels and all sorts. So it is an emergency because it really does affect our sense of pride and our sense of belonging and place when you see people sleeping on the streets. And unfortunately, it also attracts drug dealing and social behaviour, on-street drinking, and it's upsetting and it makes you feel unsafe. But rest assured, we're doing everything we can within our powers to support people before they fall into homelessness.
But Mayor, what about those already on the streets or at home? Because this charity has said that they've got funding, they've got the ability to help people, but sometimes it's just this red tape. They have these meetings with the council, but just this red tape stops them going ahead with the action needed just to help these people.
I'd be interested to know what the red tape is, if the questioner is here.
Yeah.
Are you here, Terry? Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
Terry, we'll just wait for the microphone. If that's all right, that would be useful. Thank
Because
you. And then we can...
it can't be right if there's red tape stopping you housing people if you have money in beds.
Yeah, sorry. So for 9 months we've been talking to the council, various departments in the council. They've been very helpful, very cooperative, but we've got nowhere. We've had meeting after meeting after meeting, and every meeting's a month or 6 weeks on. Yeah, it's just very difficult. So the people in the council are trying hard, they're working hard under very difficult circumstances. So it's not the people, but the system. There's just nobody can make a decision. We've talked to so many different departments, and 9 months on, we're nowhere.
Well, thank you. I would say that Denise, the leader, is here. She's heard what you've said. Should we take this out of the room? We'll talk afterwards, because that sounds like a very specific problem.
I'll have a word at the end.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you, Terry.
That's
Yeah,
very
interesting to hear what you're doing
Yeah.
as well now, but that would be great to have a chat about that. So we're moving on now to Mark. Is Mark in the room? This is a question about the environment. Hand up at the back there. Thank you, Mark. Just wait for the microphone, please. That would be fantastic.
Thank you. Oh, this is a Theresa May moment. Look, someone's brought me some sweets. Thank you.
Help them.
Is that for you, Alison?
No. We haven't done the P45 though, so that's okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Hi. I have a question. It's will West Yorkshire Combined Authority assist the UK in helping it to reduce its emissions by 78% by 2035 by utilising local green tech SMEs in order to do that?
Thank you for that question. We're committed to zero carbon emissions by 2038, so that's ahead of government. It's going to be challenging, no doubt about it. We've got to retrofit hundreds of thousands of social homes. We've got to get people out of their cars and onto public transport. We've got to use energy differently, and also our public buildings and businesses to support them to use other forms of energy. It's going to be a challenge. But what is the good news is that part of our growth plan that we had to develop for government to influence the industrial strategy, we did a huge piece of work about how we're going to grow our economy, and green tech is right at the heart of that, because we know this is a growing sector. And I've been able to, for example, with my commitment to 1,000 green jobs for young people, we're well over that target now, but the Green Jobs Task Force that came together to help me to identify these jobs and get these jobs for young people, they gave us loads of recommendations, and that clustering of green sector SMEs and that sharing of knowledge has been really valuable. So it's not just about the businesses themselves, but it's also about how we can, through our policy work, give them the line of sight for a secure pipeline of focus and orders and a direction of travel. Because for far too long, we've had a government that's had a chicane of policy that, yes, we do going green, no, we're not. Yes, we want electric cars, no, we don't. Yes, everybody should have solar panels, oh, that scheme has now ended. Oh, we're all warmer homes, etc. So we need that consistent line of sight for green businesses. And my business board, we focus on a green and green tech quite closely. We know that a lot of our strengths in West Yorkshire are digital and tech, and those green innovations are going to be how we grow the economy. And it might be worth knowing that we announced a few weeks ago the Big Ideas Prize, which is £1 million to help us with tech to end the health disparity across our regions and health inequality. So we've got innovations and interventions where we're supporting tech businesses and digital businesses, and particularly on green and zero carbon, where it's part at the heart of our growth plan.
Do you think, though, over the years it may have been a bit hit and miss, the messaging very much? Do you think enough small and medium-sized businesses are taking this serious and have got enough support to think, right, we are going to become more green?
But that's my point, Lottie, that the government didn't show us that consistent direction. And now I think with Ed Miliband, you see a politician on a mission and driving that green agenda, that green revolution is vital for our economy and for our the future for our kids. And when we're not in Bradford, but the clean air zone in Bradford, where it's contained and it's small, they've used that money to fund EV bikes, but the outcome has been that the air quality is off the scale improved. Young people are now going to school, and before they felt that they couldn't go to school because the air quality was so bad with their asthma. Now they're able to go to school or play sports. It does make a difference. These interventions are very profound. So we've got a job to do to get to zero carbon by 2038, and we're going to need green tech SMEs to help us get there. And more than anything, we're going to need your innovations and your big ideas. So.
We have big ideas. It's getting them in front of you.
Well, you're here now.
We are using your schemes that we put together, and they're great because they're helping us to grow. But really, you would invigorate any green tech that you brought into Edinburgh would be amazing, and they would work diligently to provide what it is that we require. And use the schemes we've actually got, that we actually ready now to move forward.
Can I ask Felix, as my colleague and leader in the business space, just to give a wave? Just at the front here. So Felix, would you mind saying hello to this gentleman afterwards and seeing how we can be supportive? Thank you.
Fantastic. So the next question is, it's Mariella, but she'd asked me to ask this question. So Mayor Brabin, what would you say to a young person to encourage them to stay here in West Yorkshire for job opportunities?
Well, what would I say to them? You don't have to leave to achieve. And certainly looking at there used to be this thing, didn't there, where everybody who was serious about getting on had to move to London. Well, in my organisation, the Combined Authority, we're seeing almost like a brain drain from London to Leeds, because people are absolutely desperate for a great quality of life. They want to have a house and not a bedsit on the Lee Bridge Road. They want to have a nice life and a great, exciting career. And certainly when we have in Leeds is the biggest financial and professional services sector outside of London. We are the home to the NHS, the largest number of health and life sciences businesses here in West Yorkshire, 300 health tech businesses clustered around Leeds. Our universities are second to none. 7 universities, 7 FE colleges, all those young people. And you may know that I also am very interested in the creative industries and culture and sport and heritage, and creating a great place to live as well as work, I think is making us pretty magnetic to a lot of young people. But also I know it's not easy to start out, so that's why we have schemes For example, You Can Make It Here is a scheme for freelancers in the creative industries to support them with training and connections and research and development opportunities. We really do believe you don't have to leave to achieve. You can stay here and get on here and have an amazing life. And that's what I say wherever I go, whether that's to London, whether that's on international trade missions. It's a great place to live and work. And in a recent poll, it was one of the happiest places to live as well. Always good to hear that, isn't it?
And do you think enough young people know about these opportunities, where to turn or where to go to get those jobs and have these futures?
I think the challenge is that we've had a very fractured career service, for example. I think there hasn't been the support necessarily for guidance at 16 into technical education, and there's a sense that you've always got to go to university if you're going to get on. I think devolution has given us a really good opportunity to have a career service that is bespoke for us, that serves our businesses, but also to guide those young people into great jobs. And we just recently launched our graduate scheme, where graduates might, want to go to KPMG or PwC or big companies they know, but we are 95% SMEs in West Yorkshire. They need graduates as well, so we're running a scheme where we'll work with the graduate, find an SME, a small business that they can work with, and support both the business and the graduate in that program, and then enabling young people to get in and to get on, and not necessarily have to feel that they have to move.
And just this, college here today has shown that.
I mean,
this
is one of the best colleges in the country, and it's uniformly outstanding in Ofsteds. And any West End show, any show. I mean, if you go to Hamilton, I bet there's somebody from CAPA College in Hamilton. Very high standards, and young people drawn from lots of working class areas, the 5 towns, ex-mining villages, coming to pursue their dreams. But not everybody will then go on to be a performer for the rest of their lives. They could just end up being better paramedics or better teachers, better police officers, because of those transferable skills that they've been enabled to really flourish and be confident and able to express themselves and work collaboratively. And I think that's really important, and that's why one of my pledges is to ensure that every young person in West Yorkshire has a chance to get a West Yorkshire Promise, which is an accredited module of soft skills. So businesses know that those young people can speak up, can share an idea, can work collectively, can do understand how to write an email or how to get on a bus for some young people. They're not quite sure how to do that. And we've seen, haven't we, because of COVID, so many of our youngsters are shy and they can't speak as well as maybe we could support them to do so. So lots to do, but honestly, you don't need to move from West Yorkshire to have an amazing life. I mean, isn't that true? Isn't that true? It's not just me that says this. It's a great place to live.
You will never leave West Yorkshire. Now, we've got a question from Rupert. Rupert, where are you, please? This is about investment and growth. If you just wait for the microphone, thank you so much.
Hello. Quick question. How can you claim to promote regional inclusive growth when all the investment, as you've quite alluded to in most of the speech earlier on, appears to go into the bigger districts like Leeds and Bradford?
Well, if I may, sir, very humbly just challenge you on that, because that is not my job, just to identify what is already growing and throw money at that, because that is actually inarticulate economics. The whole of West Yorkshire has to grow. And that was my point earlier about transport. The investment in tram, in bus, in skills, which we know that you can't grow the economy unless you have a skilled workforce. We're working with partners to identify why Wakefield doesn't have as many level 4 students as it should, and we're working to understand that and to put that right. The investment, for example, in Production Park. Anybody watch Adolescence on TV recently? All of that police station was built at Production Park, and all of those actors stayed here for months and added to the economy. And those young people who are trained there, nearly 100% employment in backstage skills in the music sector. Investing in housing here, investing in businesses and high streets, working with the council to see where we can be helpful. And I don't know if you've just seen WX. Have you been up to WX? What an amazing investment from the council. That is just a real game changer because it's high quality, it's as good as anything in London, and quite frankly, as good as anything in Leeds. You cannot grow the economy of West Yorkshire by focusing on one sector or one region. It is all about that interconnectivity. But Felix, I brought colleagues with me in case there was anything specific. Colleagues from transport, from infrastructure and from business. So Felix, is there anything you'd like to add to that? If you wouldn't mind joining me on stage, thank you. There's a microphone.
Or you can go to me.
Thank you. It's a really good question. And as the Mayor said, if you look at the evidence, it's not borne out. Of course, I completely see where you're coming from. And if you turn it in a different direction, that's what we say to London as well. Yeah, we say to the government, why is everything going to the south? And many times we are right. And so the government is changing how funding is allocated when it comes to innovation and other parts of some of the transport funding, but it's still not up to where we want it to be. So completely understand that within our region here, there might be a perception that a lot more investment goes to disproportionately will go to Leeds. The evidence will not bear that out. But I suppose the other point of what I'll say is, West Yorkshire has 2.4 million people, and about 900,000 of those live in Leeds. Leeds is our preeminent city. It is the biggest city here, which has 40% of our jobs and our population, etc. So we make no apologies for investing in Leeds, because growth in Leeds is important. I worked in South Yorkshire for 6 years, and I loved it, it's great, I don't want to do it down. But one of the big challenges in South Yorkshire is that the big city of Sheffield is not growing. And that brings down everything else. You do not want the opposite. But the Mayor is right. We are not disproportionately investing in Leeds. Actually, much to the contrary. It's really important that we invest in Bradford. Bradford is 550,000 people. Bradford and Leeds together, that conurbation matches any other urban agglomeration you can find in the country apart from London and Birmingham. It is important that we invest in places like Bradford to reach its full potential, because that is important for West Yorkshire. But it is also important that we invest in Wakefield, we invest in Halifax, we invest in Huddersfield, because there's great potential in all these places. And we need to understand together what are the best things to invest in and how we support growth in all these places. So that the leader will say to you, in the local growth plan that we've done, we identified higher level skills attainment in Wakefield is a challenge. So we set up a specific commission that is looking at that, looking at the root cause of that. We'll report in the summer and we'll act on the recommendations of that. So our job is to look across the piece, and that's what we do our best to do.
Thank you, Felix. I didn't put you on the spot there, apologies.
I think that, reassures that it is being
But
affected elsewhere.
also, if I could just jump in and say, Leeds is 10 minutes away on the train. So, we do want Leeds to do well because Leeds wants us to do well here in Wakefield as well because of that interconnectivity. And if I could just make the shopping list of what Wakefield's got going for it, you've got the Sculpture Park, the Hepworth, Production Park, CAPA College, the Great College, you've got connectivity to London. I mean, and great bars, restaurants. It's a great place to live and work, and a clustering of creativity that people would give their eye teeth for in London.
Right, we must move on. Sorry, I think it's like the new Pinewood Studios. There's so much creativity, film, television, being made here, so thank you, Rupert. Right, we're moving on to a different subject now. It's Thomas here, Thomas W. Oh, here we go. Thank you, Thomas. If you just wait for the microphone, thank you.
Thomas Wells from Wakefield Bid. So antisocial behaviour continues to be a problem for businesses in Wakefield. What additional resources or support can the Mayor's Office provide to address antisocial behaviour hotspots and ensure safer streets for both businesses and the public?
Thank you. In our police and crime plan consultation, antisocial behaviour was really high up on the public's concern, and I know that businesses are sick to the back teeth of it because it stops people going to the city centre, and it's, you know, it makes people feel grim about where they live. I'm just going to bring in Alison because as my Deputy Mayor for Policing and Crime, she's working very closely with the police and with councillors on antisocial behaviour. So Alison, if you want to just step up, thank you. So teamwork makes the dream work.
So as you know, I'm coming in tomorrow to meet up with you and the rest of Safe OK Please to launch, is it the new radios, so that we can have better connectivity between all the retailers, so that can report at the very earliest opportunity when antisocial behaviour is taking place. We work really closely with the local authorities. So I was literally here 2 weeks ago, driving around in the blue and whites with the neighbourhood policing team, going around Marshway and talking about all the innovations that the council and the police are putting in place together to manage some of the antisocial behaviour that was emanating from that place and was then coming into the centre of Wakefield. And actually, crime has massively reduced. It gave us some amazing figures for the reduction in crime and the increase in satisfaction from residents around that location. Obviously, antisocial behaviour is not just about policing, it's about all of us working effectively together. I know you're working with Elizabeth and Simon from Bradford at Night. I'm a patron of Bradford at Night, and I'm really passionate about making sure that businesses and the nighttime economy thrive so that people can feel safe coming into the centre of Wakefield and the rest of West Yorkshire, which is why the Mayor's put in place lots and lots of different initiatives using her funding to make that a possibility. So, for example, as for Angela, we did an audit in Leeds a couple of weeks ago, but I think they've done one in Wakefield as well. I haven't got the data from Wakefield yet. 92% of all the licensed premises passed the Ask for Angela test. So when you read in the paper that it would take some notice, it's not true. We have set up safe spaces. We funded the Walk Safe app. We've also worked alongside your Safe Leeds colleagues, in particular Councillor Maureen Cummings, who is your board lead. She's amazing when it comes to the bits of antisocial behaviour as well, because she runs 3 youth clubs in the village that she lives in to prevent antisocial behaviour. So we're doing lots and lots and lots of work together to keep the city centre safe, keep it safe for retailers and shopkeepers, keep it safe for the public, keep it safe for women and girls. And I think that there's lots more we can do, which we're really open to doing. So keep on talking to me. We've met several times, and I'm really happy to come to Wakefield at any time to understand any local issues. I do meet up with the divisional commander on a regular basis, so I'm able to influence his deployment. We've got to be operationally separate, not allowed to tell him what to do. Unfortunately, there's not a lot to go on, but we can influence those deployments. And the more case studies we've got, the more evidence, the more you tell us about what problems are, the better position we are in to be able to influence what we do.
Just something I hear a lot on the streets in communities, just not bodies on the beat anymore. And we saw with the riots last summer, didn't we? A lot of young people out there. So will we see more of that? You know, that they know that there are consequences if they do something antisocial.
So the new government, of course, has talked about increasing the number of neighbourhood policing resources by 13,000. I'm really delighted to say that in January we got our first allocation of £8.5 million, which will see more frontline police resources across West Yorkshire. So we're going to get another 100 police officers, we're getting and 45 specials, but actually we'll get more than that, because currently what has happened, because we've had 14 years of austerity, we've had a lot of police officers covering jobs that police staff could do. We're releasing those roles back to staff, so we're going to be recruiting police staff, another 100 police staff, putting those 100 police officers on the front line, and that's on top of the 896 extra police officers and staff that Tracy delivered in her first term that she promised. And we hope that if we get our full share of the neighbourhood policing guarantee, which we fully expect to do so, we'll have about 600 different resources, and that will be police officers, police staff and specials here on the streets of West Yorkshire.
Well, Alison, you might want to stay there, because the next question is related to some extent, to a large extent actually, which is from Jodie. Thank you. Just wait for the microphone. Thanks, Jodie.
I know that we meet each other quite often. So I'm Jodie from the Youth Association, and my question is, what is the Mayor doing to support youth provision in Yorkshire to reduce gang culture and knife crime?
Well, I don't know if you're a recipient of the Mayor's Community Safety Fund. Yes, you are. But this week we handed out £1 million to community groups, focusing on serious violence, violence against women and girls, and also early intervention with those youngsters at risk of grooming or accessing crime. It was a great day at the office because that money was taken from criminals. We've got a brilliant group in West Yorkshire Police who hunt down those cars, the gold, the money, and then they give it back to us. A percentage comes to us, a percentage goes to West Yorkshire Police. And we give it back to the community. People who have been harmed by crime, getting the money from criminals to put things right. So those community interventions are incredible, and there was a theatre group the other night, there was a jiu-jitsu group, there's our youth, which I think is in this neck of the woods. They do loads of sports work with youngsters to give them a focus and a team effort and things to get out of bed for. I think the work that the community do is incredible, but Alison, you might want to add to that.
Yeah, so when Tracy was re-elected, she made one promise around policing and crime, and that was to develop a serious violence strategy, because the public were telling us that gangs, knife crime were their biggest concern, especially as we know children across West Yorkshire have been dying for the last 3, 4, 5 years as a result of knife crime. And so the work around developing that serious violence strategy has started, and we're going to heavily involve children and young people in understanding what the issues are and what the responses therefore need to be. But we also have this thing called the Violence Reduction Partnership, and we've had it since 2019, and that is funded by central government to commission initiatives, pieces of work from charities like yours to deliver interventions that work in schools, in communities, on the streets of West Yorkshire. And so we've got the A&E navigators, for example, so where young people turn up at A&E with wounds that are from possibly a knife or a machete. We've got trained youth workers there, and they will work with those young people to get them off that path and into back to school or wherever it is. We've also taken the opportunity of a new government and the promise of youth hubs to look at the money that we're currently receiving from Home Office, £4.3 million this year, to look at developing some youth hubs here in West Yorkshire. So we are talking to Wakefield and all the other community safety partners across West Yorkshire to understand which areas are best suited for these youth hubs. We're going to be working with the local authorities to develop these prevention partnerships, which the government in Cooper has also talked about, and we will be keen to helping those prevention partnerships identify young people who are most at risk of entering the criminal justice system. We will then commission resources, activities alongside our local authority and other partners. So there's a pathway out for those young people, and that will include mental health intervention, of course, because our youth hubs will have embedded mental health support because that's what young people need. And we hope that that's going to be the best way to prevent young people entering the gang culture and starting, entering knife crime as they have been for some years. Because here in West Yorkshire, we really care about our young people. You care about our young people, and that's why we're all going to work together to develop the strategy. And everybody in this room, if you give us your email, hopefully you want to get involved, so we'll be emailing you and asking you to take part.
Thank you, Alison.
Just briefly, Meg, on this, because as you say, a lot of us have watched that very disturbing programme on Netflix, Adolescents. What about schools as well? Do we need to change our tactics now in a social media, digital age, to really reach out to young people to prevent them going down this wrong track?
Well, the police have had a brilliant innovation in that they're talking to young people in their language on the sites that they're using, and it's been really impactful. But you're absolutely right that we're taking a child-first approach in everything that we're doing. 450 young people helped us devise that. Our youth commissioners are keeping us on track with our pledges and telling us what they want to see for their communities, because they are the ones that are trusted by young people. Nobody's going to tell me really the truth about how they feel, but they're going to tell our youth commissioners what's important to them, and they can feed back to us. But also, it's really important that we get young people seemingly at younger and younger age when they're vulnerable. Most sadly, most rapes seemingly are child on child, 14, 15 age groups. We've got to have that early intervention. That's why I'm really pleased West Yorkshire Police run what's called police education. It's free for all schools. We've persuaded more schools to get on board. I think 96% of all schools in West Yorkshire have POLED in schools. It's about consent, it's about healthy relationships, it's about misogyny and other things that really do preoccupy young people. And certainly looking at the work that we've been doing for men and boys who are also vulnerable to grooming and to criminality. That's a piece of work that we're going to continue. As you saw in adolescence, we've got to get in there before those bad actors get in and turn the minds of our youngsters. I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Very quickly, Alison, because we need to get on to
just to say that online harms, it's a major concern for us, and 25% of all childhood sexual abuse is now, sexual exploitation is now undertaken online. And as the Mayor said, a growing number of CSE is child on child. So we need to do more to counteract that.
Yeah, that's something you're very much focused on. Is Tamsin here? Tamsin, are you here? Not here. Not here. So we'll touch on this though, because I know it's something that you two are passionate about. And I think it's something that did come up in other questions, similar topic. And this is about cost of living, rising costs, impacting frontline organisations. Particularly concerned the Tamsin was the commitments that can be made to safeguard services, particularly those addressing gender-based violence, mental health and economic empowerment. So those sorts of services, how can they recover amongst this, economic gloom and the climate cost of living?
Well, it's been incredibly hard, hasn't it? The last few years, not just COVID, then energy prices, cost of living, but now a new government trying to navigate what has been far too many false promises that were not backed up by money, and some very, very difficult decisions to be made. And the national insurance going up, and also the minimum wage, which I welcome, is also challenging for small organisations. So we're trying to help where we can commission, we try and give as much money as possible, but also I'm really pleased that we've been identified, because of the good work we've been doing, as a trailblazer region in health and work, where we can get people healthier, so we can get those economically inactive people, far too many, hundreds of thousands across our region, out of work because of ill health, how we can get them back to well-being so that they can think about looking for a job. We will be needing the voluntary and community sector for that work. So we're hoping we can work in partnership to support across West Yorkshire to support people back into health. One of the other areas of funding is £500,000. We've set up our creative health system, which is unique in the country, working with the Integrated Care Board, with health and us to try and use creativity to help people's mental health. So we will obviously be commissioning partners to help us with that. But Alison, we've tried to support, haven't we?
Yeah.
Because we know we have to hold on to these organisations because of the impact that they have.
Well, I don't know if Kath's here, because there's Kath, because Kath's a similar vein, isn't it, Kath? If you sort of ask your question, but very much a similar.
Hi, Tracy. My question is about more support for the VCSE sector. They do plug the gaps, they provide the glue in communities that is often not there. So I run a charity called Prosper, and we're the largest independent grant maker in the Wakefield district. We give funds to charities and community organisations right across the district that provides support for health and well-being of local residents, many of whom live in areas of very high deprivation and poverty, and that has an impact on their health, so often have challenging health needs. We know through research that across West Yorkshire there isn't a level playing field for grant making, and our neighbours in Leeds receive nearly twice the amount that residents in Wakefield get. So what will you do to make sure that people who live in the Wakefield district are not doubly disadvantaged, and that we have a VCSE that not only survives but thrives?
Thank you. I'd be interested in that statistic where that came from. So if you see me after, and just you can share that. Is that because of per capita? Is that per head? Is it particular funding streams for particular things? But if we could drill down into that. What's really important is to make, when you're bidding for money, to make it as easy as possible as well, because I think that also disadvantages some communities, because, applying to the Arts Council or Sport England, some of these applications are so complicated that smaller groups just can't do it. That's why the Mayor's Community Safety Fund is a very light touch, and some of those grants are £80,000, £20,000. They're substantial grants that can have a huge impact in communities. But that inequity, I think we could definitely take that away and have a look at that. But Alison, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say specifically about the Leeds Community Foundation. Tracy does not fund the Leeds Community Foundation, but they are in a very happy position of having lots of supporters and people who raise money for them and grant bodies that give them money. And in fact, they tried to, they did ask Tracy to give them some money when she first took office, so that they could fundraise more money to give money out to various groups. But Tracy chose not to do that because she wanted to directly fund those grassroots organisations herself through the Mayor Safer Communities Fund, because she recognised that charities like the Leeds Community Foundation, which is a brilliant charity by the way, I'm not decrying that, they have lots of opportunities to get money from other places, whereas other people across West Yorkshire do not. We've got a commissioning strategy. At the heart of that commissioning strategy for policing and crime is our commitment to local grassroots organisations where possible. We're part of European funding arrangements, of course, but that's our commitment. When we received some cuts very recently for our MOJ Victims Fund, we co-produced how we were going to make those efficiencies with all our third sector providers. And we were able to come to a really happy position. And when we got some extra money from government, we gave that money to our providers for cost of living increases. So we didn't ask them to employ more staff and give us more outcomes. We recognised the burden they'd been carrying for a long time, and we gave them that extra cash so that they could meet their responsibilities as employers. So we always do the best we can. I'm a previous chief exec of 17 years at Touchstone, as you know, so I know what it's like. And we will always support our third sector, because in our women and safety women and girls strategy, the third sector are named as one of the planks of delivery that we need to keep supporting if we're going to deliver that strategy. So thank you for all that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
And then just sticking to health before we move on, because it did come up a lot in a lot of the questions, and away from sort of groups that can apply for funding and things like that, what about individuals who have poor health, live in deprived areas, and don't know how to access these resources and improve their mental and physical health, because they might have a lower life expectancy than someone who lives in Leeds or elsewhere?
Well, I mean, you may know how hard it is to be struggling on a budget, and being poor is grinding, and it's all you can think about. So when you're struggling, maybe with poor mental health, or you're struggling to just make ends meet, where there is more week left than the money you have in your purse, I know that people are really struggling, and they will not necessarily be looking for help. That is why I'm really pleased that we've got this 20 million, because we will be working with partners in the local authorities, community services, sectors like you were just talking about, those voluntary groups who know their communities. When it was a wee while ago, but we had the Mayor's Cost of Living Fund, and we allocated £3 million. It was at the height of the energy bill crisis. And we allocated that money directly at speed into the community. And what some of the best outcomes were from the Citizens Advice Bureau. And we thought the million that we had for that programme, we'd reach about 3,000 people. We reached 6,000 people with support and guidance. And often it's advice on benefits that people don't know what they're entitled to. And it's going to be much more confusing now because there's a lot of anxiety around it. But the idea that we can use partners to get to those people, and they're trusted people, people who run food banks, people who run community centres, you know, people who run well-being groups. It's not me in my office. It's money that we have to get out of my office at speed into the grassroots, and they'd be trusted partners to identify those people, as you've said.
So there is the support and resources out there. Thank you so much. Alison, if you want to have a seat.
Thank you, Alison.
Thank you so much.
We come as a duo.
I know, I have a duo. So thank you everyone. Thanks all of you who gave us those wonderful questions. We're going to now open it up to the floor for the last 10 minutes or so. So hands are already going up. And this gentleman here was quick as anything. So we'll come over to you. Thank you. Just use the microphone for your question.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Councillor Daniel from Prudeston Parish Council. Now, you're not going to like what I'm going to tell you, because we're not happy with the way the West Yorkshire Mayor's organisation is working. We touched on Kirkgate Railway Station earlier. Now, in 2009, the government of the day decided that there would be toilets in that station. We are still waiting. We write to the railway companies which are involved, which are Great Northern, and they blame Grand Central. Grand Central blame Northern, and then they blame TransPennine. We have written 3 letters to your office from the council and not even got an acknowledgement. Why?
Well, I'm very disappointed if you've not had an acknowledgement, so straight away we'll look into that. I think your point about toilets is really well made, because if we want everyone to have access to all the good stuff we've been talking about this evening, you've got to understand that some people need to use the bathroom. And that there are people who are stuck at home because they're just too nervous of getting on a bus or going into town because they just don't know where the toilets are going to be. I've always thought there should be a scheme, I'm going to raise this with Denise, she's not going to like this, where we could say to businesses, if you open your toilets to the public, you would get some sort of discount. And I think that, you know, spend a penny, save a pound is a good strapline, don't you think? But there must be a way that we can help, rather than having to build expensive toilets that maybe councils can't afford. Can we work in partnership with business on this? And I know that businesses don't always necessarily want people coming into their loos and premises because of antisocial behaviour and all of that. But can we incentivise people to open their bathrooms to the public? But you're dead right, you know, older people, pregnant women, you know, people, just generally, everybody needs the bathroom. And I wonder if I could reach out to my councillor friend here, Matthew Morley. Do you want to help me respond to this? Should we just get a microphone to you there? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. As luck would have it, I have had some information this morning that Northern have looked at a site. There's going to be some accessibility work taken out at Kirkgate Station, and a site for a new toilet has been identified.
Well, hallelujah! That was good timing. Matthew, how did you know that? Did you know that? Or were you just Googling it?
Thank goodness, that's brilliant. Oh, quickly if you can.
We've heard all this before.
Well, let's not now. No, I've heard it now. I've heard it. I'm on a mission.
The mayor is, yeah,
I'm going to be cutting the ribbon on that toilet. I'll be the first flush.
Right, next question, please. Just behind in the white jacket. Thank you. You were next to put your hand over.
Thank you. I'm Lisa. I work for Wakefield Community Foundation. I'm not sure whether you're aware, but across Wakefield we have a terrible problem with children's bed poverty. We have over 6,000 children that don't sleep in a bed on a night. It's not just about a bed, it's about the impact that has on your education, everything moving forwards. Is there anything you can do, like Oliver Coppard's done in South Yorkshire, to help us help that?
Thank you. And it was the Mayor's Safer Community Fund evening, as I mentioned, and Rainbow Baby Bank were one of the recipients, and they do cots and mattresses. But I think your point is well made, and there's a brilliant charity in Leeds, a teacher that I think started a program. Oh, you're working with that? Oh, brilliant.
We've put this voluntary sector, we've put 400 children back into bed since October. Sorry.
That's amazing.
We've put 400 back. But that is the tip of the iceberg.
Yes, I do.
And when I tell you that our figures are worse than Bradford, that's like, it's just not right.
Yeah. And that's why I'm working with Amazon to work with them on what's called a multi-bank, where it's not just a food bank.
I've already been to Brick in Wigan.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. On it.
Yeah, but Amazon had a limit of 6 that they wanted to invest in.
Yep.
We are pushing them to do 7
Yep.
here in West Yorkshire. So if you and I can work together,
Absolutely.
because these things often get over the line because they've got individual, passionate leaders like yourself who are focused on delivery for their community. So you and I might be able to get this over the line with Amazon, but a multi-bank is where Amazon have return goods or white goods, where they can, rather than go to landfill, we can then, working with a charity, get them out into the community. Because you know as well, you know, your washing machine breaks down. If you're on a fixed income, it's an absolute nightmare to keep your kids' clothes clean, you know, to keep uniforms clean, sports gear, and it can just break you. One of the, you know, a white goods issue. So I think the multi-bank is one of the potential solutions.
Tracy, we delivered over 500 care packages last year to people across Wakefield District that were falling through the cracks. I picked up 14 pallets from Amazon 2 weeks ago and literally handballed those off the van myself.
You are a queen.
Amazing.
She needs an OBE, doesn't she?
Yes.
I'd settle for another 5,500 beds, please.
Yeah.
Well, let's make it happen. Thank you so much. I'm just behind. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm part of the London brain drain. You can tell from the accent. I left London in September 2022, and I've been happily living in Bingley, West Yorkshire, for the last 2.5 years. Most eager for the bus reforms to finish and to be complete, much like I was used to in London, tap and go. It's great. They've done it in Greater Manchester. It was done on time and on budget. Mayor Brabin, what are you going to do to make sure that we get that and it is delivered on time and on budget?
We are on schedule, on time and on budget to deliver an integrated plan and bringing buses back into public control. The challenge is that what we're doing is you lift and shift what you have currently and then you build on that. So you will not necessarily see a massive overnight change because it's going to be a slower process than what we'd like. But I'm going to bring in Tim, who's my boss guru, If you want to take a
quickly
mic.
just with the microphone.
And just talk us through the timetable, because we're looking at buying depots, we're looking at EV buses, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so the process will be in 3 phases. So the first phase will be in March 27, finished by October 2028.
And Wakefield is part of the first tranche, isn't it?
It's the second tranche,
No, second
January 2028 at the moment it's coming back. One of the key things really is to make sure we get really good competition from the operators, and you mentioned some new services in the Wakefield area. We're really keen to get people like Yorkshire Buses, like Connections, to start to grow what they've got now, so we can do more with those kinds of companies that we know have got ambition in the region to make the services better as well, so that's part of the plan as well.
And we're on time and on budget, aren't we?
On both, absolutely.
Yeah, very
Right,
good.
thank you. Right, next question, then we can get as many in as we can. Gentlemen with the glasses. Oh, well, we'll go this way. Lady with long hair here. Oh, just put your hand up again. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My question is, it's good that the Mayor of West Yorkshire and the West Yorkshire Combined Authority are actively supporting creative industries, especially on Monthly Business Park, which has done a lot recently. Would the Mayor give her assurances that traditional long-established industries, such as manufacturing, engineering and transport, who are the main job creators in our area for local people, will be given the same active support?
There is no doubt at all that they get the same active support. The creative industries might be something I'm interested in, and it is a growing sector, so it's part of our growth plan. But we have the most manufacturing jobs in the north. We are the home of the financial services. We are a centre of health and life sciences. So, of course, manufacturing is our absolute focus. And in the Venn diagram that we developed for our clusters, our growth clusters, in the heart of the Venn diagram is engineering. We are the home of engineering, and whether that is engineering, electrical engineering, whether that's chemical engineering, there's many digital, there's many variations, but we are the home of the engineer. And that is a priority for our growth plan. And I'd be very happy to share with you all our West Yorkshire Growth Plan, if you'd be interested in having a look. And certainly something we're working very closely with government on to support to share our ambitions, so that government don't drag us back as a dragnet to our ambition. We know what we can achieve. We know we've got an £11 billion productivity gap here in West Yorkshire. Imagine what our region will be like when we close that gap.
Well, on that very positive note, I'm really sorry we've got to stop it. I'm sorry if you didn't get your questions in, but the Mayor's office is always open.
Yeah,
for
you
some
can just email
correspondence.
us the questions,
Yeah.
and we'll get back to you.
But thank you so much to the Mayor, to the speakers, to Katrina, who's done a brilliant job, and of course this fantastic college as well.